Hello, everyone. Does everything look okay? Sorry, I'm just trying to still get everything coordinated right in the new location, in the new back cave. All right. So, in case you were living in a cave and missed inflation, coming out hotter than expected. Gosh darn, cocoa wedges don't work. Wedges did work this time. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Legion Reaver. Good morning, Jacob. Hey, everyone. Hey, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. Yeah, oh boy. The economy is strong. Hey, well, and then we got shrinkflation, your Super Bowl snacks were shrunkflation. What? Oh, don't. I can't get started. Yeah, the CPI Sterling with the information in. Let's just go over that, then I'll finish saying hi to people. Core inflation rate month over month. I was expecting. Again, you don't trade off of what you think's going to happen, but I was expecting higher inflation to start bumping up a little more. And inflation rate came in at 0.4 versus 0.3 expected. Core coming in at 3.9, annualized versus 3.7. Headline number 0.3 versus 0.2, and headline year over years coming as expected. Red Book just came out, and that's a pretty substantial drop, 6.1 to 2.5. So that might be consumers starting to wind down even more, but we'll have to see if that's a new trend. All right. Thank you for putting in all that information, Sterling. Good morning, John. Thank you for being here. Hey, Christoph. What else do we have? I got to see who else is here. Options 22. Good morning. Good morning, Legion Reaver. Good morning, Royal Palms. I wonder, will it get bought right back? Well, see, even if you're a bull, you should like this because remember, now we start watching for the secondary reaction bounce back, which will tell us a lot of stuff, but it was way overextended. You should want these occasional pullbacks, especially if you're a bull, because that's what gets the bulls ample room to reload. You don't just want to keep chasing stuff higher. People think, I like the pullback. We don't have any major sell patterns yet. This could lead to something else. We've had some minor sell patterns. But look, we'll judge it on the secondary reaction. You've heard me talk about that all the time. So just because a pullback is a healthy thing, the market goes straight down is not healthy either. You got to have the bounces. So that's where we sit. All right, where do we sit now? We have Coke. Coke was a beat. Coke is still up with Coke today. So, and that would be Coca-Cola. Everything pretty much red for the most part. Shopify was a big gap down just with their earnings, by the way. Groups, let's just do a quick refresh, see what this is. Everything negative. Energy almost at neutral at minus, let's see, not much. But technology down 192 basis points. Oof. Comm services down 159. Fed Watch tool. Let's do a quick refresh of this. See, I know the Fed swaps are only pricing in like 4 hikes, I think it was. Now we have a pause in May. This is still pricing in potentially a cut in June. I think the swaps were pricing in one in July. But another cut in July. This has 4 cuts priced in now. 4 cuts through December. Fear and greed dropping from extreme greed to greed. Are we done yet? There, I already talked about Shopify was a miss, big gap down after a run up with the yesterday was party like 1999, and then the big reversal today. Coca-Cola still up on a beat. After the close, we got Airbnb, Robinhood, Lyft, but nothing is really going to move the markets. And tomorrow morning we have Kraft Heinz, CME Group. That I'll be really looking at those two. All right. I agree on the pullback. See, what does this do? This does not have done long-term technical damage. Could this be a start of something bigger? Yes. So we had the lines. We had the longer-term trend line and the wedge line. The wedge officially triggered yesterday afternoon, by the way. And then we got the follow-through. By the way, there was also a little. I don't know if anybody was active trader. I had this on. is because you see the little mini double top, paused, and then that just because it hits all the targets, that pattern's complete. But you can always trade further targets going down. But that was a beautiful double top. At least if you were saying I'm not going to short that, to take something off the table. And then when the wedge triggered, that was okay. I mean, that was, and then we're down to the key target area. Now we're sitting still. Can it go lower? Yes. We're coming into a fairly strong support area. If it does go lower, and this is still within the daily rotation zone. Remember, we're also at cycle tops with waning momentum and divergences. So this isn't shocking. It just needs an impetus. Now we'll start watching, not necessarily today, but we'll start watching when we do get the bounce back, how strong the bounce back pattern is. So we're within the target range. We're within the target range right here. The next key areas, let's put on our bigger harmonics with a really nice topping bar yesterday. Look, we've also come down. Can you see this okay? Let me change the color. So we're looking at the purple ones. Those are the shorter term. So we've just almost come down to the 50% harmonic. So anywhere we're going to start watching between the 50 and the 62.5. Which, you know, the only thing that really puts a damper on that will be a close below the 62.5, and which would really be close to close below the rotation zone also. This is why, if you have a roadmap to how you're going to set up the markets and structure it and trade it, then you just do your analysis. And if you also look here, this other support level is right just below, so you got a very key support in here. But 49.65 area, 49.65, 49.66 going in the open. If that breaks down, I have about 49.55 and then 49.41. 49.41 on a closing basis. And just from weekly perspective, you see we could be getting a rolling over in. I'm looking at this down here. Rolling over in the weekly cycles. And here's back to the daily, a rollover in the daily. So now we have the cycles in agreement. And this has been on a massive tear. Could this even come back down to 4,800 area and just be in the weekly rotation zone? Yes. Now that's going to do a little more technical damage. And it's going to require a stronger bounce for the bullish patterns to really kick in again. But you know what? That's why we do our analysis. So just keep that in mind, please. On any bounce, and I will be seeing how this reacts at the open because we are against some very key levels. Let me pull off some of these other lines. We don't need them right now. Area of resistance is about 49.80. 49.80, and this is a huge clear path, by the way. You can see it. This is a huge clear path. And then I look about 49.85. And then you can do your retracements on this very long bar. Not even the whole thing. You can start watching this. And what I mean by that, if you did bounce back into the open, the key area, if this pushes lower, you'll have to move this down. But the key area you're going to want to watch, assuming, I got to assume something right now, is around 5,005. That's what it's really got to get back through before you can even get into short-term bullish mode, besides some bounce pattern. You know, we don't have that yet. Here's your wedge triggering. There was also a mini double top yesterday, again on the NASDAQ right there, which was completely valid. Even the second target was within the move that started it. And then it just continued, triggering the wedge. Little sideways movement, then the CPI. Coming back down to the wedge target. Right now to the wedge target. So let's just pull this stuff off. Wedges don't work. Wedges just don't work. Oh, well. So much for wedges not working. It's down below the 50%. So on any bounce, 17,675 is the first area I will watch for on a bounce, because that's a prior 50. The key area is 17,559 on the closing basis. Even coming down here, that'll be a very key area. You see a spike low there. 1, 2, 3, 4 spike lows there. And now it's a 62.5 harmonic. There you go. All right, so that's your very key area. If it does keep plummeting, besides using some other harmonics, the next retracement harmonic is 17,450. The bounce I just said, you know, if it can really start getting above 17,670, the next key area to watch is about 17,763, 65 area. So that's what I'll be watching, but we don't have anything yet with that. Let's just keep on trucking. There is still this sloppy double in the Dow, which is not close to triggering. Why do I still have it on here? Because if it does trigger, it's also below the daily rotation zone, and the Dow, which we have cycles potentially rolling over at the top, can easily go back into the weekly rotation zone. It's pretty much come to a pretty key support level right now, so we'll have to judge that into the open, about 38,450. But below that, I'd be looking at about 38,370. Key bounce area on major resistance now is 38,625. Russell finally got the close above the 62.5, but also hit the 75 and then reversed. I was shocked yesterday. I was like, who's buying? We got some short squeezes yesterday. It was very squeezy yesterday, but then, boom. I mean, look at this reversal bar. So, I'd say this is just looking like a completed false breakout from a flag pattern. So I'm going to actually be watching the Russell to return to this bottom of this channel flag. Right now, the next area, it's trading against some pretty major support right here. Pretty major support right there between 1982 and 1977. If it breaks below 1977, the next key area is 1954. Resistance is now roughly about 2,000. VIX, yesterday, bouncing up above 1380, the same line that's been on here. Today, now we're up above 1437. Remember, we were making these stair-stepping higher lows. We're coming in a very key resistance area. You see how it's topped in this area before. So the only thing is if it gets a close above about 1540, 1550, then really watch out. Then we could be into a potentially bigger drop. But over the next couple of days, I'll be watching for this to potentially stall out. The DAX, not much of it wasn't moving much before, now coming back into a key support level, 16.9. If that breaks lower, this is triggering the wedge pattern also. I'd be watching anywhere from about 16,730 to about 16,700. The notes, which did trigger the double, never invalidated it. A couple little pausing and a spike up yesterday, coming down almost to the first target. So, 109.20. Below that, you have 109, 108.13. But this should be, we'll just see, nothing yet done, but I'd be watching for another push down play after the cash opened. The yields, which not officially triggered on the closing basis, broke through today. So on any pullback, I'd be watching for a catch and then a rotation back up. Next target is 4.395. So we could easily return to 4.4, then 4.49, then 4.59. 10-2s was trying to steepen a little earlier, now trying to drop again. This is nothing much going on there. Dollar index, little push down, but then a quick reversal after the CPI numbers coming up that 62.5, 104.44. Still, let's see where it closes today. Trend line still holding. So that's key. Remember, we still are in the topping zone, but if this closes above 104.44, probability shift higher. Crude, still marching higher. Closed above the 62.5, took out the 75 now. 87.5, 78.31 is the next major target area. I'd just be a little cautious if it closes back below 77.41. Gold dropping. I'm going to back adjust it on this because you can see here. Why did I go and back adjust it? Because if we really, You're coming into this key area. It's easier to see on the back adjusted. If you really start getting a close below this level, gold could be still long-term bullish, but short-term getting into a bigger pullback area. All right? So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. What else do we have? Well, I haven't. Let's see who else is here. Hold on. News are important than technical analysis. News are, I disagree, because a lot of times technical analysis will forewarn you to something before the news comes out. Like we triggered patterns yesterday. I've been doing this since '92. Lots of times patterns front run the news. The news are just something that continues it moving. Yeah, it's got to be the 25 marker, ARF. Remind me in a second. We'll go through that. So, what is this? What else? Good. Sound quality is not as good as main setup. Yeah, we're getting more echo. I'll try to move the mic a little better. We're going to get more echo. There's nothing I can do about that in the short term. Sorry about it. Thank you, Legion Reaver, currently in positive gamma for all indices. So let's see here. Let's just look at the yen through that 150 mark. Remember, this is where we got it. You got to trust probabilities and percentages. There's not always right. Nothing's going to be 100%, but we got the magnet to 75. Now we got the magnet to the 87.5 above 150. This is very major topping area. I don't know why that moved. That's the correct area. It should be anchored up there, but we're at that target regardless. But this is a very key major topping area for the yen. So if you are running with this yen, going with the trend trade, can't give specific trading advice, but I would be looking to possibly move up stops. I don't know your account, your time frame, or situation. Euro, watch to see if it closes below 107. It's so far bounced off that level. If it bounced, that doesn't mean you won't get a bounce, but if it closes below 107, we could be headed back to 106.21, especially with the Fed higher for longer. Pound, not much there to talk about. Spiders, yeah, now I'm getting the echo. So 503.46 was the next harmonic, got up to 503.50. Now we're sitting 494.45. So key support 494.25. Yeah, I'm getting the echo now. Sorry about that. 494.25. The major support area is 489.60. Remember, you still have a gap here. You still have a gap to 493.98. So that's what's key. But going into the open, really this 494.25 area, then the 493.98. Below that, I go to 492.25. Resistance will be about 496.30, 496.25. Then I'd use the retracement harmonics. The Qs hitting the harmonic level, reversing, coming on down, 427.27. 428.32 is roughly the first key area I would utilize for resistance. And then above that, any bottoming thing I do to retracement harmonics off yesterday's high. For example, to where we get some kind of stabilization pattern. We don't know where that is yet. That's why I can't really do it. But assuming it's around here, the major area would be 434.70 and then 433.21. If we push lower into the open, you're going to have to modify that by yourself. The next bottom of the rotation zone is 424.25 to about 425 areas major support. Not expect us to hit that today, but that's where it sits. In front of that, I'd be looking at these two bottoms, 425.25. Bitcoin running up above the 62.5 yesterday, closing and now pulling back. But the key support in Bitcoin is 47,200. Tesla, I said watch yesterday's low. We closed below it, starting to pull back again. Remember, we have much lower targets in Tesla. NVIDIA, topping bar yesterday, finally pulling back just a bit, but key support is about 693 to 700. If it starts dropping below 700 on a closing basis, we have gaps left behind, and I'd start watching for potentially 660. Now, what else do we have? Negative gamma kicks in around 17,500 on NASDAQ. Thank you, because negative gamma starts reinforcing the selling and reinforcing the buying, but it would come out of. So thank you for. Anytime you want to put that up, Legion Reaver, you do that to help people. Since the site went non-free, and I can't share stuff that is technically paid for, but I don't mind if other people put in some information. So thank you. They just keep putting that in. I really appreciate people putting that stuff in. What else? ARM. Is this still a double top? Is this what you were talking about? I don't know what you gotta let me know what you're talking about. Options 22 on that. What else do we have going on? Let's take a look at some of the other big, like the we have Meta. Remember, the key area for Meta is right around 454. Trading still above that, but we'll really watch. If Meta keeps going down, watch for a close below 454, because that could start having some rollover in these mega caps, and that could start at least partially filling the gap here. So we have that one. We have Amazon, which is the very key level, and this is where all the two key levels. The first warning signs right about 169.19, which we're below now, but based off all these lows, I'm really looking at about 167.30. If you start breaking below that, we could at least partially fill the gap here and start the bigger pullback in Amazon, which will put more pressure on the markets. Remember, this started getting consolidated in fewer and fewer things. Now, is Microsoft still it doubled? No, it's not. So we take this off. So Microsoft, really the key support to watch for is about 403. All right. But the major line in the sand, it would take it all back below the 50. So that we'd need a close below this 386 area. But you see, they're coming into some very key areas. What else do we have? I am completely disagree with you. You can completely disagree with me, Mark. That's fine. You trade you. I trade me. Not trying to convince anybody of anything. Good morning. Can we consider an inverse head and shoulders on the dollar index daily? An inverse head and shoulders, you're talking about this. You're talking about shoulder, shoulder. You can, it's a little you don't have well symmetrical shoulders, and if you were doing that, I would take the breakout point. Let's see, I'd use the modified horizontal neckline right there. Now let's see what that would figure out as. Now this is not going to be as good probabilities as the other one, but we can see if this is going to work. Yeah, that would be technically, I mean, this could get, I just personally use these prior harmonics. I'd use if you close above 104.44, I'd still use 105.27 and 106.11 as the two targets personally for me. All right. So that's where you sit. Regional banks, yeah, because if this is going to get interesting with what the Fed has to do. If they're going to be trapped between a rock and a hard place, but the regional banks, it already broke down. Couldn't even get to the first target on that double. But this is going to get interesting. And this then with KRE, with them was talking the old double bottom, which actually turned into a channel. But this turned into a double top. You can see it here, and which triggered So the targets on that, you know, you're still looking 43.68, and if you use aggressive, you're looking at about 42.40. All right, with that, I've got to run into the open. Where else? Hey, Pep, thank you for tuning in. So Pep thinks US dollar index, the cyclical upswing will top out about 110. So, all right. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Hope everyone has a wonderful trading day. Let's see. I was peaking, especially with the NASDAQ still. There is no, this is still going down into the open, so really watch these 62.5 levels I highlighted earlier. I will talk to everyone later. Bye for now.